This video is about how to install Xen Orchestra from the source, like described in the documentation. Welcome to Home Tiny Lab. My name is Christoph. I have a channel where I am showing off my home lab using xpng and TrueNAS Core. And for more details, have a look at my channel and the other videos that I've already made. So in this video, I am going to follow the documentation of XOCE. And you have to go to the installation section and then select from the sources. And there everything what I'm going to do will be explained. I will put in my description under the video the necessary links, and there will also be chapters so you can look forward to some pieces of the installation. The first thing that we will have to do is to make a virtual machine that is running Debian 11. And I will start. I have already made some a video about how you can install a virtual machine. So this is one thing that we will skip, but I will show how to install all the necessary tools to get started. Okay, here is my virtual machine created. It's running Debian 11. This is the IP address. And what's installed, so the management agent is installed, so better known as the Xen utilities. And I have also disabled, if you have a look at my network, I have disabled IP6, so only IP4 is used. So the next thing that we have to do is to log in into that virtual machine and to begin the installation of the necessary packages, and then to download the necessary tools to install Xen Orchestra from sources. There are some things that are not in the documentation, but I will try to mention them, but I will collect everything and put it in the description afterwards. So let's log in into this machine. So here I have a session on my Pop! OS and I'm going to log in. So I've created a user account with my name. This is the IP address of the virtual machine I'm going to use to install Xen Orchestra from sources. I had already another virtual machine that had at some time this IP address, so I'm going to remove the key. They make it easy, they propose a command to do it. And now we can try to log in into the machine. So yes, entering the password. And I'm going to install some utilities that you need. And one of them is, first let's do an update to see if everything is okay. Okay, I'm not logged in as root, so let's switch to root, and again a password. Let's clear this and let's update. So all packages are up to date. So, and let's install the following packages. One is curl that we need to fetch the code. Another thing that I am installing is nfs-common, so that Xen Orchestra can use remotes to make backups if you want to do so. And another thing to show where the machine is running on, the virtual machine, is with neofetch. So let's enter this and then accept the installation of those packages. So I will be fast forwarding the installations or the downloading that are taking more time to be executed, so that you don't have to sitting there to watch an installation. So the following thing is installing NodeJS. I will repeat it. Everything can be found in documentation, and I think it's very useful to read it through before beginning this installation. Also verify that you're in your home directory of root, the root user. so that you don't have any surprises further on. Neo fetch, so Debian 11, and I am running on an i3 4130 as well processor. That's the processor where my hypervisor is running on. And then you see the memory that is for the moment used and that is allocated for the virtual machine. So it's not a lot because I'm running a very basic hypervisor. So let's clear this. And now let's install the package NodeJS. It's HTTPS. Node source.com setup _19.x, and we are going to pass this through a bash and enter. Okay, this is done. They make it easy. The next command is set here. So let's select this, copy, paste, and normally this will work. It's also mentioned in the documentation of Xen Orchestra. I think that they put a link to the Node.js page and that you have to follow what's mentioned there. So let's clear this. The next thing to install is yarn with npm install global yarn and enter. Okay, I made a mistake. It's not nfp. I said npm and enter. Okay, let's clear this again. So if you want to verify if Node.js is installed, I think with node v and -v you will see the version that's installed of Node. So let's clear this again, and now we have to fetch the source and install some packages needed for Xen Orchestra. So let's do a copy paste because it's rather a lot of packages. So here you see the list, and the one that's not in it is nfs-common. So that's why I've already installed it in the beginning. So you have build essential, redis-server, library, Python 3, Git. And Git is what we are going to use to clone the source code, LVM, cifs-utils, and the libvhdi-utils, the library. So once you have entered this, press enter. Yes. Okay, this is done. Let's clear this. And now we have to clone the source. We have installed a git and clone and yes. And the place is github.com. And it's from the company Vates, that's from France. And Xen Orchestra is the folder that we want to clone. So let's do enter. So we have now the folder of Xen Orchestra. So let's clear this. If you do ls, you will see now a folder Xen Orchestra in the home directory of root. If you did everything following these instructions. And now, if everything goes well, we can now build the Xen Orchestra appliance. For this, we have to go in the Xen Orchestra folder, and we have to do yarn. So we will execute now yarn, enter. And this takes up a lot of time. And in everything goes well for this part, this means that you have done everything like I've done in the video. So I will cut some parts in those yarn builds so that it's easier to go through the video. Okay, so we are through it. Let's clear this now. And now we have to go through another build again with yarn. But now yarn build and enter. Okay, this is done also, the yarn build. Now to start Xen Orchestra, we need that it can find the configuration file. Remember, we are root user. And we are in the root home directory in the subfolder Xen Orchestra. Now we have to go in packages, and there is another folder XOCE, and there then we have to make a folder with the make dir command -p, and let's put it in the, we have to put it in the .config, so it's a hidden folder. And there in XOCE enter, and this folder will be created. And now we are going to copy the sample config toml file to the folder that we have created. So you could do everything with copy paste XOCE, and we will name now this folder also config.toml. So this is important. This file is copied, and now we can start the Xen Orchestra appliance by the following command: yarn start. So this will use this session now. So if we go now to our web browser, remember the IP address that we had here. Let's open another tab and create. So we are in our new instance of Xen Orchestra Community Edition. Here you can log in with the default username and password. So if I remember, it's admin@admin.net, and the password is admin. Okay. This is already right. So the problem now is that if we are rebooting our virtual machine, or there is something happening that we have to restart, Xen Orchestra will not start. We will have to log in and to go to the root user and to go to the subfolder and start yarn start to have the instance again running. So in the next chapter, we will see how we can make a service and let it start when the system is rebooted. Another thing that's very important if you want to use it or to deploy it in your home lab is to change the user. This is something that you can do in settings, users. First of all, create a new user. This is the way that I do it. Give it admin rights, give it a password that you can remember, and then create. Okay, then I sign out, and then I will try to log in as the newly created user. That works, that's a good thing. And then the next thing that I do is removing the default account. Is one thing that you can do from the start. So I'm going to sign out and going back to my terminal session. And if I do Ctrl+C, it will stop now the Xen Orchestra Community Edition. So if I go back to my browser and I do a refresh, it will not work anymore. So the instance is stopped. So let's go back to our terminal session and let's make it now a service, and a service that starts up automatically when we reboot the server. To do this, we will create now another directory where we will put our config file. Now it will be in a system folder. So make dir -p etc and XOCE server. Enter. And now we will copy the sample config to that folder. So this is with a copy command. So I'm still in the good folder where the sample config is. Oh, there it is. And now we will copy this over to etc XOCE server, and we will name it again config toml. This is not correct. Config toml, and then enter. If you want to verify this, ls -all etc XOCE server, and there you will see that the file exists. So let's clear this. And now we have to build it as a service that will run and create it as a service also. So the first yarn global add forever enter, and then we have to repeat this again for service. So this was the first, and now the second command that we have to enter. We can take back again the one that we used and add -service and then enter. Okay, so we are still in the XOCE server folder, and that's important that you know that you're in that. If you don't see it because you have another prompt, normally not if you have installed Debian like I have done, but you have the command pwd to show the folder where you're into. So now let's execute forever service install, and we will name the service orchestra like in the documentation so that we can find it back easily for in case we would forget it, and it will run as root the service. And then we have to add this and cli.mgs and enter. And now it gives us ways to stop, to see the status, and to restart the service if needed. So now if we do orchestra status, command not found because it's service. We installed it as a service. So let's add service before, and it's inactive. So we do start and status again. Now we see that it is running, active. And let's try it now to see if it works. So let's go to the browser again. And let's do a refresh. So let's click on the refresh button. And there is the Xen Orchestra Community Edition again. So now log in with the user that we have created. And the password. And now we can add our server. I'm going to add the only one that I have in my home. So I will label it xcp-ng home lab. And then you have to give the IP address that you use for your hypervisor. This is the address, and then you have to give the root account of your hypervisor with the password. that you use, and then click on connect. Wait a little bit, there will be a warning message normally. There it is. So you see the red triangle, and this means that you have to click on this and then invalid self-signed certificate. Do you want to accept the self-signed certificate for the server, even though it would decrease security? Okay, we are going to accept it. Okay, and now we are connected to the hypervisor that I run in my home lab. So if we go to hosts, we will see him. We click on the host, we will see the memory that's used and all what's already running on it. So I'm going to sign out. This is not everything that you can do to make it better, but from here on now you can use your Xen Orchestra instance to manage your xcpng hypervisors or your Citrix Xen servers. So if you're really interested in this kind of videos, please give it a like. And if you want to follow up on my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will gladly see you in the next video.